So I was asked a few years ago to put together a program initially for the Verbier Festival by my friend Martin Engström, who runs the festival. And he and I, over the years, we've come up with thematic projects. We both love history and we love to see how music and history are intertwined. And we came up with the idea of selecting a single year and illustrating that year with music. And we landed on 1938 because that was really a crucial year in the history of Germany and Europe. Things were still somehow okay to a certain extent at the beginning of that year, and they went rapidly downhill from that moment, especially in Germany. Of course, from the time that Hitler had come to power, he had unleashed massive sanctions and hate against the Jews. But in 1938, something different happened. Kristallnacht happened. And from that moment on, it was no longer behind closed doors, but it was totally up in the open. And so you have this horrendous date, the 9th of November, in 1938. And in a sense, the evening goes towards that, but it's not only about that. It's also about the way in which the world was listening to music, hearing music. And so I came upon the idea to create a kind of radio play with two radio announcers that I envisaged being of that time. One was a German radio announcer, the other was an American. And I was lucky to get Thomas Hampson, the famous baritone, to be the American presenter, and an extraordinary singer and chansonnier from Germany, Horst Merz, whom I'd worked with on a number of different projects. And he looks like he comes from the 1930s, and he plays and he sings and he dances, and he's an extraordinary cabaret artist. And so I had these two very different figures incorporating Germany and America, the Nazi side of Germany, the freedom of America, and going month for month, reciting the news headlines of each month and bringing together music with a band of wonderful musicians placed in the middle, which I was leading. And I wrote the script based on news headlines. We put it together and it caused an enormous I would say sensation actually in Verbier. They'd never seen or heard anything quite like it. Very moving, very powerful. So I thought, why don't we take this project and make it even bigger? And where better to do it than with New Century, with our musicians, and to take what was essentially quite a small-scale chamber music evening and turn it into something theatrical. And we're thrilled to be going back to the Presidio Theater, which is a magnificent venue in San Francisco. It's been restored. We played there a Beethoven series and a Beethoven festival just before the pandemic. And so we're longing to get back there. And we've secured Thomas Hampson and Horst Merz to come back. And we've modified the music so that the orchestra can really be a central figure in that evening. And you have everything from the sounds of New York from 1938 with Benny Goodman, through to George Gershwin, to Kurt Weill, plus some of the darker music that comes from that time, which is in a sense illustrating a descent into darkness, which that year conveyed. So it's about telling people what was happening, what they were listening to, and the effect it had on, not just on Germany, but on Europe, on mankind. There's a song called How Do I Tell an American by Kurt Weill, and it's a parody of trying to guess what makes somebody American, and I guess that's about identity, really, and this evening is about identity. It also has something to do with my own family history on my mother's side. Our family was from Berlin. They escaped from Germany between 1935 and 38. Some even couldn't bear to leave Germany, and after 1938 realized that it was too late somehow. So it's about the writing on the wall, and what they called in Berlin in the 1938 and 39 season, dancing on the volcano. This feeling that something was going to come, something bad was on its way, and let's party, let's enjoy, let's make music, let's have cabaret. And so there's a madness in this evening, which is quite infectious, and there's such a striking contrast to the darkness and to the terrible news items that come later on in the year. Well, when we started to plan bringing this to New Century, the world was a different place. I mean, we were faced with the pandemic and all of that. But now, with the invasion of Ukraine and living in Germany as I do in Berlin, and it being so close, and having the kind of headlines we never thought we'd see again, actually, it has certainly placed yet again music in a different light to me, in a different context. And as it has, I think, the world has been shaken up quite considerably, and we don't know where things are going. And these kinds of projects, I find they give me tremendous comfort as well as discomfort. But it's about soul-searching and going deeper into an avenue that you perhaps don't know, and using music to help and to console and to inspire and to maybe also just to take one's mind off things, which certainly at the moment I think we can do with. Well, Thomas Hampson is one of the greatest singers of all time, but he's not just a great singer, he's a tremendous personality and stage presence. And anybody who's seen him as well as heard him never forgets it, because this towering figure of a man and this wonderful booming voice, especially his speaking voice, he's a tremendous actor. And he is also somebody that spent so many years researching song, American song, the history of song. He feels passionately, as I do, that music and history are intertwined. And so I was deeply honored that he agreed immediately to be part of it, but actually wasn't that surprised, because we both have this feeling of wanting to examine music in a deeper sense and putting it into a social and a historical context. I didn't know how he and Horst Maria Merz would coincide. You know, you couldn't get two more different personalities. But that's also what I wanted, because those worlds were so different. The America of 1938, where almost anything was possible, and there was this tremendous feeling of invincibility and optimism. And in Germany, something very different, total control of state manipulation, anything but freedom, actually. So that's what these two actors, or singers, or musicians, however you want to call them, that they convey that. But the blend and the way they come together was really something incredible. There was such an energy on that stage, and I'm so looking forward to bringing it to an American audience, to being in San Francisco. I think the Presidio is a fantastic venue, especially for this particular project, because it combines elements of theater, of drama, of music and spoken word, but it gives the New Century Orchestra also a chance to shine in repertoire that is a little different as well. So I think it ticks many of the boxes, and I'm thrilled that we get to do it also more than once.